Okay, we are live. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming in on this Friday night. And as usual, we do a live stream on Fridays the day after I release my video. And then we get to have you ask me questions. So the format, as usual, is I talk about a specific topic for half an hour. And then I dedicate an hour of Q&A to each one of you. So for that, some of you actually complain, why is there such a long session here? And the answer is, the actual content is only in the first half an hour and the rest is Q&A. So if you want to check out before the Q&A, you can do so. And if I don't allow this kind of session, then I actually don't get a chance to interact with you guys and listen to what it is that I haven't explained on the video. And this has really been very, very positive for all of you who subscribe to me. You get a chance to actually ask me something that's not clear on the video. So thank you again for watching. Hello, Mysticalist, Turbo, SMX, Great Gold, Keith in Miami, James Bates and Galvano, Stockmaster, Philip 2, Principe Vega, Roger Debris, Great Gold, Nemo, 777, Old Man, Hey You, Art, Jason Jones, Seek Value, Ludwig, J. White, Tech, Num 43, J. Mac, Andre, Antarmeyer, Blacklight Revelations, Nemo 777. Okay, I just forgot something here. Okay, Andre, I think I forgot something here. My goodness, I actually I have to do something. Hold on a second here while I pull it down. But while I'm talking, I'm gonna download this file, a QR code. I'm supposed to show QR code tonight. Anyway, while I'm doing this, let me just relate the problem to you about understanding what the risks are with phones. And bear with me here while I do this and download a file at the same time. People are very confused because, of course, I say, well, there's some threats that you can't escape from, and yet here I am saying, oh, you needed the Google phone, you can do these kinds of things, but maybe not, you can't do those kinds of things. And people are confused, and the reason you're confused is because of the question of threat. What threat are we actually concerned about? Because different threats require different approaches. So I want to make it clear now that when I talk about phones, please understand this. There is no way to escape that someone can spy on your phone. I have, 2 videos in that nobody watches. Who's spying on your phone, part 1, part 2. Anyone can spy on any phone. It doesn't matter if you have a Blackberry, a flip phone, or a burner phone, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. When it comes to the government, when it comes to parties that are state level players, they can't get to the phone. It has nothing to do with the OS. The problem has to do with what is in the hardware itself, and it's called the cell baseband modem. That is what's explained in those videos, and what that really means is that the threat coming from either a government or from a carrier-related person doing CALEA law in the United States. There's a law called CALEA, C-A-L-E-A, which is the Communications Act Law Enforcement. Assistance. Okay, it has to do with Communications Assistance to Law Enforcement Act. There you go. That's what it is. And which means to actually embed tools inside the carrier system to track. So when it comes to phone calls, there really is no solution unless you do one thing, and that is to turn off the cell baseband modem. There's another solution, and that's to take off a SIM card. When it comes to that level threat, there's no software, hardware, nothing that you can do unless you turn it off or take off the SIM card. That's it. There's nothing else to do. That is not the threat that I teach people to protect against, because there really is no protection. So if you're going to say, well, I'll use Wi-Fi only, okay, you can do that and that'll protect it if you don't have a SIM card. Otherwise, you need a phone with a switch. The only phones with a switch are two, which is a Linux phone from Librem 5 and a Linux phone from Pine 64. And both of them are not ready. Both are not ready. And they are the only phones with a switch. Beyond that, there is really nothing you can do. It's pretty much, a dead end. You can't protect against that threat. So whatever I talk about, really, please understand, I am not concerned about that threat because there's nothing I can do about it. We only want to worry about threats that we can do something about, not threats that we cannot do anything about. So what is the threat that I try to protect you against? And that's what the Google phone is about. And it's something about the general category of device fingerprinting and device tracking, which is found on your phone. So here I have in my pocket, I have actually a newish phone. This is a Pixel 4. So it's actually a newer phone. It's not, the model that's coming out here in December, November, but it's, this is only a few months old. And it's expensive, obviously, because it's close to a brand new phone. And it's the Google. There's no Google in here. This is a Google phone without Google. Somebody made a comment about that in the video. Yeah, it's true. Google phone without Google. There's nothing here. I can't even load. Somebody said, can you load Google Voice? Can't. I can't load Google Voice. I tried. Can you load anything Google on here? No. Can you run YouTube? Yeah, go to the browser. Can you connect to your bank? Yeah, connect to the browser. So what is this phone all about? The phone is relating to protecting you from the tracking that's done by private parties. And the parties I'm concerned about are Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, whoever. The phone owner, in this case Google, if this were a Google phone, can actually then find out what your IMEI is, which is the device identifier. It's like the serial number of this. Can find the MAC addresses of your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth and all that, which they use for contact tracing. The embedded Google code, if this were Google, can read all of that, can read all the device identifiers. This being a non-Google, de-Googled phone, can't do that. So there's no connection to Google. Google cannot pull anything out. So even though it's a Google, it's manufactured by, I don't know who manufactures this. A lot of them are manufactured by LG or, I don't know. I don't know who manufactured Google doesn't manufacture the phones. They go to the standard companies. So usually they go to LG. I actually do not recall who manufactured a Pixel 4. So this one, even though it was contracted to be done by Google, actually has no connection to Google now. So therefore, whatever I do on this phone, Google can't pull out those identifiers that are in the phone. And secondly, there's a code that they put into a standard Google phone, which has to do with location tracking 24/7 that you can't really turn off. And it's an indirect way of getting your location. It's indirect. Some people were saying, that's not true. You get permissions. I got to hear this argument all the time. Okay, the other way to get your location is indirect. In theory, they don't get locations that way, which is to find the Wi-Fi routers near you. But in practice, simply by pulling out all the Wi-Fi's near you and your GPS position and your Google ID, which is on this phone, whether you like it or not, they've collected your location. Okay? Well, guess what? On a Google phone, it doesn't have any of that. Yes, I can't protect this phone against Stingray, which means government. I can't protect this phone from Kalia. Okay? If the government wants to listen to my calls, I can't really do anything. Okay? The only way to do that is turn it off, take off the switch, take off the SIM card, but that is not the point. When I'm using this as a normal phone, Google is, if I install like if I run, let's say, YouTube on a browser, I'm only running as as any other app. I don't have any. Google doesn't get any special rights on this phone just because they're Google once you've de-Googled. There's nothing in here. The other thing it doesn't have, there's no speech to text engine or text to speech, whichever way you want to go. It's called Android TTS. It's not on here. So I can't force this to do voice recognition or anything to do with voice recognition because that code is not on here. It was not loaded by Google. I took it out. So this doesn't have that. There's no capability. I can download all the voice apps I can. It cannot listen to me or translate what I say because that engine is not here because that's a Google engine. So the Google engine is the Play Store, the TTS engine, the telemetry for Firebase, and the location tracking, Wi-Fi scanning stuff. All of that is gone from the phone. There's really nothing here, and all the identifiers are gone. So you gotta understand which threat you're trying to protect against. And when somebody says, well, can I protect this against the government? No. If you're Snowden, the only answer for you is don't duck and carry a phone. Okay, that's the only answer, which is not something that I need to worry about for normal people because that is not the threat that we have to deal with. So for normal people, we don't really have to worry about that so much. What we worry about is, can we avoid anybody else that we can avoid to collect our data and sell it and use it for any nefarious purpose that we did not authorize. So, and again, to summarize this, when it compares to iPhone, there is no difference with an iPhone and Google. Don't give me this thing about, iPhone is better at security. BS. Okay? BS. Why is that BS? Because there's not, somebody told me, somebody posted on my video, you don't know how Apple Pay works. Apple can't see anything. Who said to you, I want to ask that person, did you actually see the code? Did you do a code review? And did you see end-to-end encryption in the Apple Pay code? Did you see end-to-end encryption? Can you guarantee me that there's end-to-end encryption with credit card payments on this phone and there's no metadata? Can you guarantee me that? Well, obviously, there's metadata about any credit card transaction. I don't care if you say you can see it or not see it. I do not care. I do not believe it because there's metadata. Okay? It's totally unbelievable. You go to a website and you suddenly flash Apple Pay and they can't make the connection between the two. Oh, come on. Oh, well, we can't see the transaction. Some of this is just common sense, okay? If you believe everything that you're told, then you're going to be sheep. By the way, I don't need to care about being censored or not censored. It's just a waste of time worrying about what I say here. I did an experiment last week where I was careful about what I said, and it didn't make any difference. The broadcast was censored anyway, so we're not going to care. We're not going to care. We're not going to rely on Google ad revenue, guys. If you want to support what I say, please support me on Patreon. Please support me by my products. And to those who comply and say, well, he's just trying to sell something. And my response to that is, if I don't have a way of sustaining this, then we won't have a channel since, I'm like attacked on all fronts. So I can't survive doing this from advertising because I'm constantly demonetized by YouTube. So we don't care. We'll get all of my live streams are demonetized. So it's okay. They can demonetize all they want. It doesn't matter. So just I'm going to rely on you guys to give me the support to keep this going. Anyway, back to the iPhone question. And again, I just want to have a big picture here because people are so confused. It is true that if you ask cybersecurity specialists, that they will say, yeah, it's pretty hard to hack an iPhone. It's probably harder to hack an iPhone than it is to hack an Android. But who cares about hacking? Hacking means somebody takes a hold of your phone and tries to break in. What does that have to do with anything? Apple does not do anything different with stealing your data, reading your data, being able to read your voice and store it and do all that. Nothing is different. There's no difference between Google and Apple when it comes to data collection. None. Thank you, King Jofi. Thank you so much. So there's no difference. Don't give me this thing about, I'm such an Apple fanboy that, I heard that Apple is such much better. You just like fall for the advertising. If you want to do that, fine. There is no difference. First of all, there is no open source with Apple. So you're trusting what they say. Well, Apple is privacy. Says who? Who reviewed the code? Why are you so certain that there's no spying software on Apple, which I don't believe, for many, many reasons, including just dictation alone is not true. So yes, when somebody says security on an iPhone, they're relating to the fact that it's hard to hack because you can't load any malware on Apple because they review every single program that they put on the iOS store. Okay, fine, that is true. So yes, it's hard for hackers to put any bad code because they block all that. That's actually true. It has nothing to do with what Apple can do. There's no difference. Apple can do anything they want on the phone. They can certainly read the IMEI, the SIM card information, the IMSI, the device ID, your Apple ID, and there's no way you can stop that. And the difference between an iOS phone and an Android phone is that you cannot do anything to an iOS phone. There's no way to remove it and put something else. Therefore, it's a bad investment. On this iPhone 4, Pixel 4, this started out as a Google phone from Google, probably from purchase from the Google Edition Google store. This is probably purchased from the Google store, or I could not have de-Googled this. And now there's no Google on it, so it's a good investment because I was able to buy a phone from Google and then take it apart, and now Google's out, and Google doesn't seem to care, so we're all happy. I'm happy, they're happy. They made money because they sold the phone. Whatever. Okay. So we're not gonna worry about that. We're not gonna care. YouTube is not receiving enough video data. Hold on. Let me just see if I'm having internet problems. Barely. It's still 4K. Okay. So anyway, yeah, because I'm sending 4K video here. So anyway, the conclusion is what I'm saying is that yes, I can't protect all the threats when using this phone. And yes, but the point is that only a AOSP phone, meaning a Google that I've de-Googled, is the only thing that is usable right now. And I have a Pine 64 Pine phone, and not 100% yet. Not everything is running, and it I don't know. It's some of the development actually slowed down, so it's kind of frustrating. In a sense, Purism is doing more work on the Librem 5, and I still don't have the Librem 5, but they promise that the battery life will be up to 14 hours with Wi-Fi off on a Librem 5. So when I get that, then we'll see how that works. So I have that supposedly, shipping in November, and I can tell you that's not going to happen. So, I'm looking at 2021 for that. Okay, so that's the issue of phones that where people are not clear what I talk about and why I have this statement of who's spying on your phone, that you can spy on a phone, and yet I am talking about the Google phones because this is the only option right now. It's not a bad option. And a Librem 5 and a Pine 64 would have been a better option, less usable, but safer because you can actually fight against the government by turning off the switch, which you cannot do on these. So for more security against that on your cell modem than a Pine 64 Pine phone and a Librem 5 would be the more extreme solution, but they are not as usable for day-to-day use. So for average people, I still recommend that you get a de-Googled phone. Okay, so just to make that clear. Now, what is safer? Again, just big picture stuff I'm talking about here. What is safer, a phone or a computer? And safer is a relative term, because I will tell you right now that I agree with the cybersecurity people that phones are much more robust against malware than a computer. So if you're talking malware, it's pretty hard to put malware on a phone that's not rooted. It's very hard to do. So unless somebody takes hold of your phone, you are wrong, James Mason. A phone is safer for cyber security. You got to understand this, because you got to be specific here. A phone is safer for cyber security. A computer is not as safe for cybersecurity. I can easily load software in there that can do very bad things on a computer that I cannot do on a phone. However, folks, a phone is extremely bad for privacy. Cybersecurity, privacy, two separate issues. A phone is extremely bad for privacy. Some people say, I'm going to use Graphene Os on my phone because I want to be cyber secure. Okay? That's not even the important part here, because the important part, by the way, on Android is pretty secure. Android 10 AOSP on a phone is pretty secure already. Okay? If you don't work for the CIA, it's pretty secure. If you work for the CIA, you may want to have Graphene on there. Otherwise, it's very secure with Android 10. And it's going to be safer one day for us with Android 11. It's very secure. It is not private. You have to be the Google for that. And in the Google sense, then, as far as I'm concerned, any AOSP, whether it be Lineage OS, Graphene, Calyx, whatever, Havoc, on and on and on, they're all the same as long as there's no gaps, no Google apps on it. They're all the same. So you don't need to, just worry about the model, what's available for the models. So the models I do, I typically will standardize on just Lineage OS. And if somebody said, well, somebody preloaded mine with Calyx OS, is that okay? Sure. No problem. I don't really care what you put on it, as long as it's AOSP based, and then it's fine. Let's not be there's no Google police. I don't really care. Okay, I'm not here to push any particular one, because it's irritating when people push and say, well, this one is just a little bit safer, and it's like, for most purposes it doesn't matter. The issue is privacy. For privacy, just simply degoogling the phone is very private, and that's all you have to worry about. Now, having said that, and yes, you can easily install malware on the computer. All I have to do is do social engineering, and there's really nothing to stop somebody from installing malware on a computer. It's fairly easy to do. Once you click on it, I can get malware in there left and right. And you do not need a antivirus. Yes, you can get malware in there left and right. However, a computer is very private. Make the distinction again. A computer is very private. So if I were you, I don't care about the cybersecurity aspects of it. We will protect against that in a different way. But I would shift my activities to computers. So somebody said, well, I do dictation and so on, and I want to dictate on my phone. Very unsafe. Do not dictate to your fucking phone. Don't dictate to Cortana on a computer either. Use a standalone dictation program that your computer can handle, like Dragon. Do not do any external cloud, whatever, voice recognition to any of the companies, whether it be Google, Microsoft on a computer, or whether it be Android, Google Android DTS, or Apple for your phones. Don't do that. Don't do that. The computer is much better. I don't know, guys. I mean, it's Christmas time. Don't go around looking for the best phone. Use a functional Google phone and buy the nicest computer you can find. They're very nice. Some of them are small, light, 2 pounds. They look good. They're the same price as a phone, and they're much more powerful, brighter. You can watch movies and whatever, and you can then not have to worry about privacy issues because a computer does not have sensors that this thing has. This thing has motion sensors, fingerprint sensors, this sensor, that sensor, facial recognition, this and that, voice. There are too many sensors in the docking device, okay? Too many sensors in this. That doesn't exist on a computer. A computer doesn't even have a GPS. It has Wi-Fi and that's it. It doesn't even have a GPS. A computer is still the best way to be using the internet. The computer is still the best way. So for this holiday season, look for computers and don't look at phones. Don't come in here and say you want to be in a cave because I want to do everything on a phone. It's like, suck. Computers are nice. Get a nice ultra portable. They're very nice. And back in the day, people said, I want to get a MacBook Air or one of those because they look nice with those aluminum cases. And now every single computer now comes with these nice cases, and they're all from all the manufacturers, from HP, Lenovo, Dell, MSI, Razer. I mean, they're all now if you look at the ultra portable category, I invite you to do that instead of getting a phone. And then if you want to go Linux, there's so many Linux options now. Get a nice Linux computer. They're as powerful and as attractive as a Windows computer now. Now you do have to worry about which ones are compatible, but aside from that, you will be able to do pretty much most of what you need to do on a Linux computer as you would on Windows or Mac, with the exception of video. So if you do video like me, I don't have a choice. I got to have a Windows computer. But, because I can't have, I need to have dedicated NVIDIA graphics and stuff like that. So I'm eyeing another computer that's going to have to be Windows. No choice for me. So get yourself a nice ultra portable. So if you understand what I'm saying here, I'm just trying to how do we get secure? Well, change your focus, people. Don't follow the crowd. Let the crowd get on their zucking phones. Let them go sit around everywhere. They don't talk anymore. The kids that go in a party and they go into your Thanksgiving dinner and they're not going to talk to you because they're all doing this on the phone. Who cares? Get yourself a tablet. No, I don't mean a tablet like iPhone tablet, an iPad. I mean a computer that looks like a tablet. They don't have to be, they can just be Windows, which is a computer, not an iPad. iPad is still iOS and they still have the same limitations on that. Get a zucking computer. I hate to be pushing Microsoft Surface, but yeah, really, there's no sensors. Pick a device with no sensors. And, that's how we're being tricked because you're all so quick to get the nicest phone. But you know what? I'm not really sacrificing much. This is a Pixel 4. Now, it's expensive. Okay? It's not cheap. I mean, it's not like my Google phone. This is going to be expensive. Okay? I think this was like $800 brand new. I mean, from, direct from store. So it's a little cheaper than that, but not much. So, but I feel safe. Now, aside from that, just to summarize the big picture here, we need to change our habits when it comes to devices, and understand the big picture, the threat, what threat I'm trying to protect you against, and just take the government aside because I can't really do anything about that. All the tracking is being done on these kinds of devices, so. By not having the device emit any data, which, this doesn't emit any data that they need to be concerned about, then I don't really have to worry about it. Okay? And I hardly really do much of anything on it because, aside from texting and, using Signal and conversations IM and things like that, I don't really use it much for anything because I'm always on a computer. Get back to the old way, guys. Get on a computer. They're fun. You can play games. Go play Halo on a laptop. Yes, you can play Halo on a good laptop. There. Use a game controller. It's more fun than these suckers. Don't rely on these. I need one with a better camera. It's like, don't get too excessive with that, guys. If you really need to get a fancy camera, get a fancy camera. I have many fancy cameras. One fancy camera. This is a fancy camera using now. This is a Sony A6400. This is a fancy camera. Okay, so don't rely on your own fancy camera. Okay, so thank you guys. That's what I was gonna say. Now, before I go on, I need to apparently show this thing here, which is a QR code from Incognito. And now I got to look for it. And I forgot to prep for this. I really completely forgot. But they told me I got to do this. So we'll do it. And there's the QR code. Okay. Let me see if I can make this bigger here. Okay. Now what is the QR code for? There is a game with people who are supporters of incognito.org. And they have a little game like find it's like they have to go find something. So if you're part of that game, there's a QR code. I'll leave it there for a moment. And just take a picture of that or go to the replay and go get the QR code. So hopefully Privacy Quest. There, thank you, Andre. Privacy Quest. So Privacy Quest is if you go click on that QR code, it will bring you to the website about the Privacy Quest with incognito.org. Thank you, 0000. What do you think about Yasi? Use binary eye to scan code. Okay, so that's QR code. I think I can hide that now, right? Because you can always see it on replay. Okay, now, if you miss it, you can go to the replay. Now, this video is sponsored by Linode. Now, again, the nice thing about Linode, I'm very, very, very picky. I'm very, very picky about my sponsors, to be honest with you. I get sponsor offers daily. And if you note that I don't just put any sponsors here because I'm not here about making money. I want to make sure that whatever sponsor that I allow to be on this channel is actually conducive or supportive of what I'm trying to teach you. That if it's not, then I won't. And many, many companies have come to me, I'm telling you, daily, because my channel is getting big enough that they want to sponsor. But Linode is something that I actually use. I've shifted a lot of my servers to Linode. I have a lot of servers on Linode, dozens. Now, it's not my only ISP. I belong to I have other data centers, but Linode has just been very, very good. I mean, I've dealt with so many ISPs, and for one thing, if you go to their website and how everything is so simplified, the pricing is simplified. I don't have to worry about little tricks about how they price their servers. It's very clear. You can start with servers as low as $5 a month, and if you use that link that's shown there, linode.com/RobBraxman, you actually get a $100 credit valid for 2 months. So your first 2 months will be free. So if you want to play with it and try to set up your own servers, your website, your Jitsi server, your XMPP server, your Nextcloud. Nextcloud is what I recommend for many of you because people are asking for what's a good backup, what thing I should use when I'm remote. Yeah, you can set up a Nextcloud and you don't have to do any kind of setup. You just go to their marketplace, and my video already shows how you can do that on Linode. So Linode is gonna save me a lot of money. I easily have, and it's because they don't play little tricks and with the pricing, And the tech support has been amazing. I have to tell you, people who actually know what they're talking about, it's just amazing to deal with them. And they're so friendly, whereas some of the other companies almost act like police. And the Linode people, it's a privately owned company, so they don't really have to answer to anybody else. So I love it. So anyway, that's my sponsor, and if you need servers, I would really recommend that you think about going with Linode. Okay, now I'm going to answer questions now. And sorry if I missed the top ones here. So we're going to go start with what I can see first. Can companies fingerprint you based on your style of typing on a keyboard? If it's true, how to protect? I already know who you are just from that question. You have just identified yourself with that question. In the scheme of things, that is, low on your list of concerns, because stylometry requires a lot more text than, and the way we type now, is kind of like in little bursts, unless you're writing like a long story. It's hard to really get style from short bursts of texting and so on. So I think, to be honest with you, that that wouldn't be my number one focus. For example, while you're focused on stylometry, your phone has your Apple ID, and you're dictating on it, and you're actually dictating a long story. Some of you go to Braxme and dictate what you're going to post on Braxme. So you say, well, I'm on a platform that's, encrypted, and I'm going to dictate my response that I don't have to type it. Why go to an encrypted platform if you're going to go dictate? Because you just gave Apple a copy of what you're saying. Now, Apple then knows what you're saying. There's no stylometry required. They already know who you are. They already know who you are. So this is kind of like, if you watch my last video, that video really, it's kind of shocking if you think about it. And I've known this for a while, but it's, the realization that people don't know, and it actually got triggered because, a friend of mine was dictating on the phone, and it just occurred to me, oh my gosh, it's bad enough that Alexa is in their house listening to them, but now they're like, okay, I'm going to dictate to a phone. So every conversation that they do all day, long form, long stories about their lives, and they're dictating it. Posts in social media, and they're dictating it. Do you even understand the amount of data that's in a dictated post versus just even giving an Alexa command? If you say, Alexa, buy me some Kleenex, okay, to the point, is that really much data? But if I write, you know what, I'm like, Trump, Biden, and you put that all in dictation, and it's like, oh my gosh, do you even know what I'm saying? What you're saying? Let's say you're one of you young people, you're talking to your girlfriend, and you're passing your secret conversations to Apple and Google verbatim, transcribed. If you think, oh, they can't do that, they're not that sophisticated. Guys, this is a YouTube video. In case you didn't know this, when I do a YouTube video, the moment this live stream is saved, now they can't do anything to a live stream until I end the live stream. The moment I upload a video or end the live stream, the AI reads this frame by frame. It looks at every object in the frame and says, what's in the frame? Fortunately, I have nothing here visible because it's all darkness, but they'll say, they'll say, oh, you're wearing this brand sweater, you're wearing you have two pictures over there. I don't know if they can see any object in here because it's not clear. And this is actually good to have a blurry background because they can't get context in that way. So do you see that if I even pop a piece of text, if I have I showed the phone, so they have that. So they know that I'm showing a phone. The AI will know that. So they'll say, oh, video is about a phone. Okay, they'll get that just because I showed it. Oh, yeah, this is a microphone. Okay, they know that. Then every word I say is transcribed. Every word. Every word is transcribed. And they say, oh, it's such probability that this is the topic that I said. They look at all my words and say, what word was used more often. Everything that you type in those comments that I see here, oh, the AI is reading that and trying to judge. Maybe I'm getting demonetized because of what you type into that comments there. Are you getting the new PS5 or new Xbox? New Xbox. I'm getting new Xbox. So Xbox Series X, right? See, I too, we old people have to be up with technology. Yes, King Sing, I got to get a Xbox Series X. Sure. Yes, I have Steam running on my computer. I got to act young here. Got Steam running on here. Why would you buy more Microsoft crap if you can play all your games on a PC? Because I need an NVIDIA card and I can't do that on a zucking Linux computer. That's the problem. I need it for video creation, for 4K. Very hard to do that on Linux. Very hard. So that's a limitation. Adobe Premiere Pro does not work on Linux. So for us professional video people, we're kind of stuck. So yes, you can. I'm doing it right now. Well, you're not using Adobe Premiere Pro. I am. So it depends on what you're using. I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro. I don't have a choice. I tried different things and it won't work. Okay, well, new Apple chips, you mean the ARM chips? We'll see. There's a problem with using ARM chips. ARM chips are low power, but don't have the same capacity to compute as the non-ARM chips, Intel and AMD, the 8086, x86 style chips. So I don't know what that really means in performance because, ARM is not really known for performance versus an x86. So don't really know. So we'll see. What's wrong with iPhone privacy-wise if you disable iCloud? Well, how do you disable anything on an iPhone? What kind of comment is that? How do you disable the code that's in? It's like I can disable Google by taking Google out. I can't take Apple out. So how do you disable it? Do you know some magic thing? I don't. I can't disable it. I can't replace it with a non-Apple OS because the only way to take Apple out is to load a non-Apple OS, which is not possible because it's not open source. Not possible. Why not the PS5? I've never done any PS5 here. Consoles are not an issue with privacy. He's probably trying to use the open source NVIDIA driver. Purple Eater, it is. Some people are like, I won't follow you because I won't subscribe to you because you use a Windows computer. It's like, come on, people. Okay? I have, dozens of Linux servers. I'm working on Linux servers day in, day out. It's like, I'm not going to follow you because you use a desktop. Don't be so hung up on that. Okay? Do whatever you want, but don't tell me, because, as far as I'm concerned, I have to do what I need to do to get the job done. And yes, you can set up a Windows computer to be safe if you know what to do and what to set up. My Windows has no Cortana, no telemetry to Windows and so on. You can do that. So, and I don't use antivirus, and I don't have anything. And I do the usual things I said in my video on how to set up a computer. Now, of course, I have a Linux desktop as well, and I also have a Mac. I got to deal with all of them because I got to do tech support on all of those platforms. So, yeah, you can't really limit yourself in my world, because I'm a developer. I got to work on all platforms. But all of my servers are Linux. That's guaranteed. All of my servers are Linux. Not that Crime Stoppers, I'm the real one. You have Windows telemetry on, just like you said. You can't take Apple out of Apple. Can't take Windows out of Windows 10. There's no sensors on Windows 10. There's no telemetry that has identity. They don't know anything about the computer. My computer has no name on it. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't be hung up. Do you understand the difference between a phone and a computer? This has identity if you don't have the Google phone. My computer has no identity. There's not a name on it. So what are you talking about? It's on a VPN. I'm on a VPN router. There's no identity on it. There's nothing on it. So unique hardware identifier. What unique hardware identifiers? What's a cable haunt? Who is Linode Web Service? Who is Linode as a company? It's a data center when you want to install your servers in the cloud, and it's not expensive. Let's say you set up a website or whatever, and you can set up your own server for as little as $5 a month, which is enough for running a website. Not bad. Which is the preferred Google phone. All Google phones are fine as long as they have no Google on it. All. Are you talking about what brand? I don't have any specific recommendations of that. It's whatever you can get. I am going to add a Samsung S9 to my list of Google phones. I'm testing. I just bought a Samsung S9, and I'm going to add that to my list. But only the international Samsung S9 and S9 Plus can be de-Googled. You cannot de-Google a US Samsung S9. So, meaning you can't send me a Samsung S9 in the US and have it de-Googled. It's not going to be compatible. It's got to be an international one. So, can you de-Google a tablet? Don't know what tablet to de-Google that's new. All tablets are very old. What ROM should we use to de-Google our Android devices? I'm going to say the most useful one, because it's the most popular, supports the most devices, is Lineage OS, and that's good enough. Can you test a Samsung A30? No. Samsungs are very difficult, because if it's a US purchased Samsung, it's not going to work. So that's why I got to be careful about what I buy with Samsungs, because you can say, well, I have an A30. I don't know what an A30 is, but I have a Samsung A30, and can you de-Google it? Then you ship it to me, and it was purchased in the US, and I can't do anything to it. It's got to be international. Okay, thoughts on Graphene OS? I don't have any thoughts. Can you de-Google a OnePlus 8 Pro? Not yet. I'm sure it'll be de-Googleable at some point, but not yet. I can't even de-Google a 7. But it will happen. OnePluses are typically the first ones to be de-Googled, and Pixels. The international versions of Pixels tend to be de-Googled very fast. So this is a 4, which is current year model, and this is already de-googled. So a 4, Pixel 4 de-googled, in the same year it's released. It's pretty good. So typically Pixels are de-googled very fast. The rest are maybe like a year behind. Like you can't de-google a Moto G8, you can de-google a Moto G7. Moto G8 is from this year, too early. Pixel 4a, no, that's a brand new model. No T's. Anything with a T is not good. No OnePlus 6T, no, the T is, it's tied to a carrier. When it says T on it, it means it's T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and then they lock it, and then we can't unlock it. It takes a couple of weeks to unlock a T model OnePlus, so I don't want to bother. I can't tie up capital, on these that take weeks, and then I'm not even certain I can unlock it. So no T's. I don't want to do it. That's fine. JPE Billy. First of all, a Pixel is, like I said, a Pixel has to be international, or you can't OEM unlock it. So no simplistic answers here. Okay. Oh, you can. Somebody just told me on Brax.me. Oh, you can easily do Samsungs. It's very easy. No, wrong. Specific submodels of Samsung and Pixels can be done, and they're not the US models. You can't do it on any US model on a Samsung. You can do it on a Pixel that comes only from the Google Store, which only means 50% of it can be done. If it's purchased from a carrier, it can't be done. So when somebody says, oh, I can install, Graphene, this, that, Calyx, no, you're going to have to find a model that's Google Store Edition. These are not simple problems. This is why I don't bother with them. They're so expensive. Well, good, try it. Nate Watson says, all Pixels can be unlocked. You really mean that? How many have you done? Okay. I return 50% of the Pixels I buy. 50%. The only ones you can do are international editions or Google Store editions. That's the reality. That's why, it's very hard to de-Google. That's why I do it for you as a service, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Thoughts on IP fire? Why do you need that for a firewall? Aren't you using Linux? Use UFW. Do I have gaming videos? Hell no. Braxman not 133T can't unlock a simple Google Pixel 4a. Braxman not lead can't unlock a simple Google Pixel 3a. I'm not lead. Yeah. Demonstrate that for me. Go get a buy 10 Pixels randomly from eBay, and then prove to me you can unlock all 10 of them. It's like, don't waste my time, please. I de-Googled 3 Samsung's J series. Again, it depends on which model you get. You can't generalize it because you get to have the submodels. You can only do SM960F. You can't do SM960U. Well, do I have to explain that? Hard to explain, folks. You can't at 500 degrees. In the description below, there's a Patreon link. Thank you. Is relocking the bootloader, as with Graphene Os, that big of a deal? You can't relock Lineage, unfortunately, on a Pixel 2 and above. No, sorry, Pixel 3 and above. You can lock a Pixel 1, Pixel 2, relock it on Lineage. OnePlus can be relocked. I don't really worry about that. Don't be obsessed with this. Again, I don't want any graphene crowd in here. It's just very irritating to me. Okay, I don't mind if you support the graphene folks, but I don't really I don't really want a, a mob here from Graphene. So I don't want to talk about Graphene. You want to use it, it's fine. Hold on. Somebody says I need glasses. Yeah, I just, I do, but, it's actually a wonder I can read all this. What are your favorite Halo and Xbox games of all time? I'm not some big time gamer or King Sing. Don't ask me those kinds of questions. But hello, Ramiro. The thing though that's funny is I'm on the computer all day, and often the last thing I want to do is play a game on the computer. So I don't do it often because when I want to get a rest, I read a book, I go sail, I get out of computers because I'm with a computer 24/7. 24/7. IP firewall standalone for Windows LAN. You're using Windows firewall? We just talked about Linux here. UFW. Why do you need all that? I have a Brax router and running UFW. So the router has UFW on it. So do it at the router end. Yes, Rob likes to read books and sail in the ocean. Hey Rob, what do you suggest for in-out calls from the Google phone to a non-de-Googled phone? You can't. I already told you that you can't, because phones can be intercepted by certain parties. So you can't really protect the call part. What you need to protect are the contact lists and such things. You can't protect the call part. Okay, hold on. The signal was dropping there. I hope it didn't. I saw that signal drop. IP Fire is in the router, but you said Windows. Did I miss that? I don't know what IP Fire is because I just use UFW. Does your 3-letter agency handler pay you in crypto, cash, or direct deposit? Oh, IRS is not going to like crypto. I want to add you on the Xbox Live. No, I'm not. You're not going to find me on Xbox Live. Are virtual machines safe? Yes, you can. I have a video on that. Watch my KVM video to do virtual machines on Linux. That's really the most practical thing, is to use KVM and run a virtual machine on Linux. That's really the best practical way of using virtual machines because it's faster. But you're going to have problems. Some of you are saying, oh yeah, NVIDIA cards, and you can use Linux. And the problem is, the moment you do KVM or any kind of virtual machine, then NVIDIA cards and all that's going to be not really all that usable. So unless you know some tricks of getting that all compatible, but usually you don't get the graphics acceleration once you do that. Is Tails a virtual machine? No. Cubes is. Hunix is. Not Tails. Tails is a standalone. My 2070 Super works just fine in KVM on my Arch. Well, that's actually good to know, Nate. Do you have any special drivers that you need with that? So a 2070 Super works, because that's always a problem. So if I get it, I kind of know this. I'm going to order an MSI, let's say an MSI with the 2070 Super NVIDIA. Is that going to work with Linux? I'm going to guess not. It's really frustrating, but if you can get it to work, that would be fantastic. That would be great. Can we get 5G in a Google phone? Why would you want that? If I were you, you would say, how do you turn off 5G in a phone? There is no 5G Google phone that I'm aware of at the moment because they're brand new. And why? Why would you want that? If I had 5G, I'd go in settings and turn 5G off. I can't believe this kids, oh, some new feature, new spyware, let's install it. Yeah, that's what 5G is, more spyware. And you can say, oh yeah, love it. Let's go rush install that. Will you sell the Google Samsung S9 phones online? When I have it. They're expensive though, King Sing. They're going to be the most expensive ones offered other than a Pixel 4. Pixel 4 is very expensive. I don't know how much I'm going to sell a Pixel 4. You can buy a, because to buy a Pixel 4 now is $500 plus tax. So, you're already in the $500 range before I even touch it. So, we're talking $700 for a brand new Pixel phone and $600 for a used Pixel 4. So, yeah. So a Samsung is, again, used, probably same range. Used, $600 range, 600 something. And then brand new is probably 700 something. Can you do anything with older Blackberry phones? No. I never buy a phone over $300. Not a bad idea, Jason Jones. Meaning Monkey Man. Good that you do this. Do what? Just get a Poco or Redmi or Xiaomi for $200 to $300 and root it and install a custom ROM. Sure, that's why I do what I do, which is install Moto G7s, and then I can keep the price down. So yeah, so Moto G7s are the least expensive ones that are very functional and they work internationally. So, and then slightly more expensive Moto G7 Plus. Then you got the expensive phones. The OnePlus 6s are more expensive. The Pixel 3s are more expensive. The Pixel 4s are more expensive. More data, more speed equals better spying, I guess. Well, no, you absolutely have no idea how 5G works. 5G beamforming. Right now, your ISP, your carrier does not know your exact location. With 5G, beamforming up. You're 1 foot away from the door. They know that. So if you want beamforming, go 5G. Me, I like LTE. Okay? OPSEC for crypto mining? I don't know. Run it on a cloud server. Don't run it at home. What about Moto Z? Can you do a video on eSIM privacy issues? Don't do eSIM because then you can't remove the... Look, when you do eSIM, you can't do one of the things that you can do in a SIM card phone. Remove it. Did you know that if you remove the SIM card, they can't stingray you, they can't do any of those things. So when you want some privacy from stingray and government, whatever, or let's say you're in a protest and you say, well, I'm in a protest and I don't really want to be tracked here. All you have to do is remove the sucking SIM card and you can still play games on your phone while you're sitting in a protest. If you have an eSIM, that's it. No choice. Stingray. You're zucked. They know your identity. No zucking eSIM. I am a teen. I do browser isolation, Tor, use FOSS, VPN, and I said, yes, noob science, but of course, don't put your real identity online. Noob science is a very smart kid. Very, very smart. Proud of you. Proud of you. My TP router has a WPA3 option. Should I enable the setting? I think I should wait. That's the problem is, do we, first of all, you got to have supporting devices. And WPA3 has not really been steady yet. So I don't know. I would want to play with it. If what you should do is enable it, but test it only on some devices. Don't use WPA3 all the time. And because WPA3, if it lives up to the hype, it's not supposed to be hackable compared to WPA2. WPA2 can be hackable, 100%. You can hack any WPA2 Wi-Fi. Anyone. Don't go to a protest. You don't want to go to a privacy protest or anonymous protest? Sometimes I want to do that. Is Braxman going to be in line to get the COVID vaccine once Bill Gates releases it? Once Bill Gates releases it. Why not opening a Discord server? It's like, suck. Why are you opening a Discord server? If you protect your working for rich, if you protect your working for rich old white guys. Don't know what that means, but okay. Nothing is safe in the internet. Simple philosophy. Nothing is safe even outside of the internet. Facial recognition and so on. Can the Pokephone? Don't use the term secure and private in the same context. Anything with Android 10 is pretty much very secure. Is it private? Not necessarily. Is Nextcloud reliable? Yeah, it is. Does that mean beamforming prevent triangulation? Like beamforming is triangulation. What do you mean prevent? It triangulates you with multiple beams until it finds you. If you protest, you're tricked. If you protest, you're tricked. If you protest, you're whatever that means. So you're saying I can't protest about privacy issues? Is that what you're saying? Are we all paranoid? One of the most irritating things is to see a comment on somebody on YouTube say to me that I am paranoid. My goodness, guys, watch my last video. The guy that says I'm paranoid is talking to his phone using WhatsApp, and he dictates his response to WhatsApp on his phone, sending whatever he wants to say to Apple or Google, and he's saying, "Are you paranoid?" It's like, are you stupid? Okay, so my goodness. Are we talking about some conspiracy here? Isn't it obvious it's already happening? I mean, I read the terms of service. You read it yourself. Tell me if this is something I'm making up. Of course I'm not making it up. It's crazy when you say, this guy is paranoid because, they don't really capture your voice. It's like, oh my gosh. They say to you that they capture your voice and transcribe it. They say it. And they say there that we're going to keep it forever, or we're not going to tell you how long we're going to keep it. We can keep it as long as we want. And people say, well, you're paranoid. They don't do that. Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I am not here to give you paranoid kind of information. I'm just telling you factual, technical details or things that we can derive from common sense. I don't need to go into a laboratory and prove certain things when we know common sense tells us it has to be that way. So, like somebody says to me, well, is iMessage encrypted? And this is a common one. Is iMessage encrypted? What's your answer to that question? Okay, test. Is iMessage encrypted? Yes or no? Please tell me. I'll wait for an answer for that because it just shows you, how people misunderstand this. They don't even understand the technology. And so they come to me and say, I'm paranoid. Okay. Some of you say yes. Some of you say no. Well, I'm going to give you the proper answer now. Yes. iMessage is encrypted. Yes. Does that mean anything? No. Who cares if it's encrypted? That is not the right question. Who cares if it's encrypted? The question is, who can decrypt it? Who can decrypt it? Obviously, Apple can decrypt every iMessage. They have the sucking key. If they have the key, it is not end-to-end encrypted. If it's not end-to-end encrypted, then what the heck are you talking about? Who are you encrypting it from? Third parties. It doesn't encrypt it to itself. This is why somebody comes to me and says, well, you don't know how Apple Pay works. It's encrypted and you don't get any information about how Apple Pay works. You're passing traffic from your phone through the Apple servers and you're saying, well, it's encrypted. So we don't see what all the credit card traffic is. Who encrypted it? Who has the key? So don't lie to me. Apple has zero open source code. Well, I don't know if they support any open source project, but certainly the code in your iPhone is not open source. Therefore, if the code in your iPhone is not open source, how do you know this? The only reason you believe it is because they tell you so, and you actually say, oh, we're not going to believe this Rob Braxman guy. We're going to believe Apple because Apple is always telling us the truth. Apple's always telling us the truth. Apple doesn't spy on us. I mean, they said they don't collect our data because they don't make money from the data. Yes, I understand they don't make money from the data. Doesn't mean they don't collect it. They already said they collect your voice recognition speech. They say so. So yes, there are certain things that done in device, like facial recognition. They claim is done by the chip that's in the phone. Well, that's okay because it doesn't really use that data to be stored in the cloud like Facebook. It's stored on the phone. It's a very small biometric. It's not a lot of CPU, but not a large biometric. Not like voice that requires a big database of voice files. So because of that, there's a difference between voice and facial recognition. They can't put a chip on a phone that can do voice recognition because it requires too much power, too much storage, too much CPU. Okay? Facial recognition can be done on the phone by iPhone. It's not done on an Android. Android does not have built-in facial recognition. They actually send it to the cloud. So that's kind of worrisome. I have no finance to buy your Google phones. Can you make a video flow to make one yourself? Noob Science, there are many ways of doing it yourself. So get a cheap phone and experiment. Go to XDA and learn how to do it. Just as long as the phone is cheap, then you can do it over and over. You'll figure it out. That's the same way I figured it out. The people who buy my phones buy it because they don't want to spend the time to go research it. And to be honest with you, it took a while. On average, it takes about 2 weeks to learn to do a phone. You can do it. So get an inexpensive phone. You can get you could probably get a phone for $50 and do it on that kind of phone. Very, very doable. So just make sure, check Lineage OS to see if it's one of the supported devices so that you don't have to hunt around. Okay? OS X is based on an open source project, Berkeley software distribution, which was built off Unix. That's actually not quite true, but okay. But doesn't mean anything. What does that have to do with anything? That's not what's on your phone. Let me just give you an example how kind of meaningless that comment is. So somebody takes Linux and put spying code on Linux and said, well, this is open source. It came from open source. Well, who cares if it came from open source when you just added all the spyware in it? Once you add the spyware, forget about open source. You did not see the spyware. Apple certainly has all the spyware on there. Google has all the spyware on there. They're equal. Don't come to me and say, well, Google spies more than Apple. The only difference is that Google makes money off the data and Apple supposedly does not. Otherwise, they both spy on you. New razor de-Google. Depending on a brand, there's some razors you can de-Google. check the actual model on Lineage that lineageos.org. That was in response to you saying that OS X did not use. I did not mention OS X at all, actually. I was talking about iOS. I didn't even talk about OS X. But it doesn't really mean anything. You take a kernel from anything, say, well, I took the kernel from, it's just the kernel. The kernel itself is not the OS. It's like Android. Android is based off a Linux kernel, but then everything is really being run off Dalvik, the Java interpreter that's built into all Android apps run through the Java interpreter. Only the AOSP runs in the native code on Linux, so which I presume is C++. But that's the native code is not something accessible, and that's part of the open source. In Android, you're not running anything like a Linux machine because you don't have access to that. You're only running your app inside the Dalvik or the Android runtime infrastructure, which has to be Java, and then it's running through the Java interpreter and very controlled through there. Now, Android is very secure. Android 10 especially, Android 11, they have very tight SE Linux policies, and other specialty ROMs have even tighter SE Linux policies that even restricts access even more. But don't get too excited by that, because for privacy reasons, we're okay with Android 10. Android 10 as it is already pretty safe. It's safer than a computer for cybersecurity. Safer than a computer. The only thing we want is more privacy. And no phone is more private because it has sensors. A computer does not have any sensors, so even though it is not as secure with permissions, you can't collect data that doesn't exist. There's no sensor, no GPS, no motion sensor, just very limited things you can do on a computer because it's not intended to be mobile. You can't put it in your pocket. Can a hack Chromebook be safe? No. When you're running a Chromebook and you're loading Linux on it, you're actually running inside the Google version. You're running inside Chromebook. Linux is just a sub what do you call this? It's like a virtual machine. So you don't actually get to control the device fully in a Chromebook. That's why Chromebooks are kind of nonsense. Buy a 3310 phone and 3310 phone. I have a Facebook signed up from Onion website and Toro with a pseudo account I made from Tutanota. Why make an account of Tutanota? If you're going to use Facebook, go use some, temporary Gmail account. You don't need to be more suspicious by using Tutanota and Proton Mail. The AI of Facebook will say, oh, that's a fake account because you're using Tutanota and Proton Mail. If you want to hide in plain sight, use Gmail. Since you don't really care, you're only using it as a throwaway. You cannot convert Chromebooks to Linux truly. I mean, I've tried. I have a Chromebook here, and I've tried, and they're really just running, inside the Chrome OS. Put all your Google stuff on the Chromebook and just use it for that. Yeah, the problem is, there's no way to stop the spying, and Google requires you to use Chrome, so therefore you can't do like browser isolation and some of the techniques I talk about. You cannot do on a Chromebook, so it's kind of pointless. Motorola Passport. I don't know what a Motorola Passport is. I thought you were talking about Blackberry Passport. Thoughts on built-in hardware hypervisors such as Intel Management Engine. Intel Management Engine is not a hypervisor. Intel Management Engine is a coprocessor. It's like a chip next to the big chip. So Intel Management Engine is, there's the big chip and there's the little chip, Intel Management Engine. So you turn off the power on the big chip, but the little chip is always running. And then while this one isn't running, this one can access all the hard drives, put stuff in there. It's pretty crazy what you can do with Intel Management Engine. But Intel Management Engine supposedly is not turned on the commercial laptop models other than the Xeon processors and some of the high-end 10th generation. Most of the desktops and server appliances do have Intel Management Engine, and some of the more corporate laptops. So some of the Lenovo corporate laptops may have IME, but some of the consumer ones hasn't had IME vPro in 3 years or so. So you know, the ones I buy don't have. I always check before I buy it. I check the CPU to see if it has vPro. That's the one you need to check. vPro. Forget about sat phones. Why do you want a sat phone? So you say it's a sat phone secure. Well, all you have to do is, for example, one of the what's the name of one of the sat phone providers? Forget their name, but they're in San Diego. Okay, so a lot of people on boats use sat phones. So use a sat phone, and you think, oh, I'm talking satellite. You know, it's safe. Wrong. Sat phones go to the central station of the satellite company that intercepts all phone calls and then send them back out. They all happen on the central office. So the three-letter agencies just have to tap into one spot. Iridium, which is in San Diego. One spot. So three-letter agencies just have to say, oh, we'll listen into the Iridium offices in San Diego with all their satellites, and all of you are captured in one fell swoop. So no, sat phones, nothing. Useless. No clue how Loon secure smartphones work. So the best thing to do is, you know, encrypted text traffic is still better. Are the old iPhone? No. Maybe use the Chromebook for Google apps and something like Triskel for more secure functions. No, don't waste your time with a Chromebook. What is a good Blackberry Passport is actually based on an old version of Android, so I don't really know how safe that is. How do we do a malware analysis of an Android phone on a desktop? Android phones are not likely to have malware. All you have to do is do a factory reset, and then if it had one, don't root it. It'll be gone. As long as it's not rooted, it's fine. Just reset it. Okay, it's very hard to put malware on here unless you root the device. If you root the device, I'd probably reflash it. If you root the device and somebody got a hold of it, they may insert something because it's rooted. But if you were flash with, I don't root the phones I sell. These are not rooted. Okay, so no one can insert some hidden code in there. This is flashed directly from Lineage OS factory, and then every time it gets updated directly from Lineage OS, not by me, but by Lineage. So you're safe there. Okay. So somebody said, how do we know you're not loading anything on here? I just explained. When I install this phone, the software is actually coming directly, the updates directly from Lineage OS, not connected to me. Is Voiceover Lte safe? Well, you don't have a choice. No voice anything is safe on a phone because it's part of the CALEA law. They need to be able to intercept. Interception of phone calling is standard. There's nothing you can do about that. Solution: don't talk on a normal phone. Use something else. You can use Signal. You can use, Jitsi. Then if you wanted something more secure, what do I feel is a communications, I was going to do a video of this, but I'm going to tell you right now. What is the best recommended by me messaging that you can use for instant messaging instead of texting or instead of using Signal or Telegram or any of those, WhatsApp? What I recommend is Xmpp, which on a phone uses conversations.im. It's the name of the app. You can get it from F-Droid. You can get it from Aurora Store. You can get it on iOS. Conversations.im, which is a Xmpp client. On your desktop, you run software called Gajim. Gajim, Gajim. And those can all talk together. And you could talk to any server anywhere as long as you have their XMPP address. So you don't need to build your own chat app. You don't need to do anything. It's already there. And it's instant messaging. And it's actually the basis of WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. They're actually all based on XMPP. So it's the same one. So now why is XMPP good? Well, for one, you can set up your own server if you want. And secondly, one of the later or more recent changes in XMPP is the use of OMemo. It's an encryption. It's a new encryption, end-to-end encryption built into XMPP called OMemo. So if you enable OMemo on an XMPP client, you will have end-to-end encryption even with group conversation. It's so basically it becomes the most secure as far as that goes. And no phone number. No phone number. If you want no metadata, simple, run your own server. Get yourself a Linode and set up XMPP on that. It's actually pretty easy to do. Linode server, run XMPP, even the smallest server can do it, and then you have extremely private communications. And that is, and then it's going to be safer than Signal because there's no metadata. If you use a public XMPP, you will have some metadata, but if your identity is not in the name of the account, then it's a bit restricted in what they can get for you. So that is, I don't like use Matrix in comparison to XMPP because Matrix often requires you to use a single client, which is riot.im, which then puts you into a single server. So it's, the infrastructure is different. Although you can not use Riot IM and do something else, the actual problem is that most people are on Riot. So if you want to avoid being centralized in there, XMPP is my preference, and it's just my preference. Okay, so because I can set up my own XMPP, it's pretty hard to set up your own Matrix server, but it's pretty easy to set up your own XMPP server. Very, very easy. So if I can set up my own XMPP server, there's just no issue. I have one. I have an XMPP server. You guys want to test it, you can. It's xmpp.brax.live. Now, I may reset it, so don't put anything permanent on it. But if you want to try it out, it's xmpp.brax.live. I'm going to do a video on it at some point here, and then we can all test it out. I'm still testing it. That's why I don't expect to do anything permanent, but consider like a test server. Do I like Threema? I don't know why I need to use Threema. Again, I don't really need to go to anybody else. If I can run my own mail server, if I can run my own XMPP server, even if I reach out, for the people who I talk to that are inside the server, then I have less exposure of metadata. So the fact that something is encrypted is not good enough. I need to have less metadata. I may not be able to eliminate it, but to have less metadata, the best way is to run some of it, not all of it, on your own server, and that includes email, XMPP, Jitsi. If I have those, so some of you need to be secure, you can actually run all those XMPP, Jitsi, and a mail server. You can actually run those on one server. So it's not, you don't even need like 3 separate machines. Just one. It can handle a company, a lot of people, your family, and for as little as possibly $5 a month. So do I need to create metadata anyplace else? Threema is probably better than Signal because of the metadata, but Signal is pretty good with having voice and video and all that, but it still has some metadata that I'd like to avoid. So Jitsi has less metadata, and XMPP with OMemo is pretty secure. So it's very secure. So, can they intercept Signal calls? No. Audio not, video can go through a relay. I'm not familiar with Copilot app, Chris Anderson, but I'll certainly check it out and see what it is. You're getting cancer. You can get cancer from 3G, so that's why you can't really say that. Do you get cancer from 5G? Well, although the experiments are not clear on this, you can get cancer from 3G. So why talk about 5G when it's everything? Signal's an app, Joy C. So in Signal you can do texting, calling, video, but you have to use your phone number. So I only use Signal with family. So because I have XMPP and Jitsi, I don't really need to use Signal anymore. Thank you, Marianne. Noob, stop spamming. Okay. Downloaded maps with Copilot, but uses GPS. Yeah, I'll check out what Copilot is. Is that a navigation app? What is that? Well, I'll check it out later. XMPP, the preferred communication platform for theater agency independent contractors to talk to the agency from the field. Did you just Google that, Robert? A robot Glock? Did you just Google that? Nav app, Copilot. Is that F-Droid, Chris Anderson? Is that F-Droid? I'll be interested to check that out. Is that F-Droid? Where do you find that? F-Droid, Copilot app? Neat. Okay, I'll go check that out. And then we'll learn and see if Copilot... We need that. We need a good app, to replace Waze. So if it's excellent, I'm glad to hear that, Chris Anderson. That's a very great suggestion. Okay, guys, we're out of time. And again, make sure you watch my last video on dictation speech AI, because that is almost symbolic of kind of the sheep behavior of most people. I want my newest phone. I want my, I want to use the latest technology. I want to get the 5G. I want to get everything new, and then I fucking dictate on my phone and have somebody listening to my conversation, and they say, no, they don't do that. They don't do that. It's like, oh my gosh. Sad, people. Sad. Thank you, Chris Anderson. Very, very excellent advice. I'm going to check it out tonight. Chris Anderson. That's probably worth it right there. If I learn something new today, that is absolutely the best. Thank you, Chris Anderson. If you say it's good, then I would, that would really be exciting to see. Don't trust voice changing software if you don't know what the technique is for. What if they use timing? Not voice changing, not frequency. What if they use timing? So we don't actually know what the technology is. So how do you figure out how to do voice changing if you don't know what the technology is? So yeah. So just be careful. I got on late. How can I ask you a quick question? You can't now because I'm getting off. Okay, guys. So thank you for watching. And my last video on dictation is my fastest It's the highest ranked video at this stage of the game. After one day, it just had the most views in one day, my last video. So, and I was very passionate about writing it and scripting that. And it is a big issue, and we need to push that fact. Share that video to your friends who think, nothing is, so weird with their lives when they do use their phone, because they don't even notice something as basic as sucking dictation. Dictation, guys. Stupidest thing on the planet. Okay, good night. I'll use a VPN, of course. Mine VPN is bytesvpn.com. BytesVPN, BYTZ VPN.com. Thank you. And don't forget that QR code I flashed at the beginning. I guess let me flash it again before I end this video. Okay, that is for the incognito game. They have a kind of a search game. And that is what that QR code is for. So if you want to know what the game is, go look at that QR code. It'll go take you to incognito.org. It's not a bad QR code, so you don't have to worry about that. It's from incognito.org. Okay, thank you very much. Good night. See you later.